It's been 6 months since I bought the iPhone 14 Pro, and other than its deep purple color and the new dynamic island, it generally feels the same as my iPhone 13 Pro, and that's certainly not a bad thing. It's just getting harder for Apple to make every iPhone upgrade feel substantial. So what do I like about the 14 Pro? First, the dynamic island. It's the best new feature of this iPhone. Every time I use the dynamic island, one word comes to mind. Context. It gives you greater context for what's going on in the background of your phone. For example, it'll show you little album artwork and a waveform icon when listening to music, and not just music on the iPhone itself, but if you're playing music on a group of AirPlay 2 speakers like HomePods, it'll show you that music as well. The dynamic island also showcases Apple's insane commitment to detail. The little waveform icon you see is actually timed correctly to the media playing in the background, and for phone calls, they take this one step further by showing a green waveform timed to your voice and a red waveform timed to the voice of the other person on the call. Some other useful things the dynamic island shows are countdown timers, the HomePod transfer icon, AirPod accessory connection and battery level information, AirDrop, Find My notifications, and one of my absolute favorites, showing a phone call I have going on, which gives me a clear place to tap and return to the ongoing call. The dynamic island doesn't just show you contextual information, but it also creates a persistent shortcut that you can use to get back to the app running in the background. You can either long press the dynamic island to bring up controls like play, pause, or skip forward or skip back, or you can tap the dynamic island to go back into an app. Another new thing you get with the iPhone 14 Pro is emergency SOS and car crash detection, and while thankfully I haven't had to use these features over the past 6 months, it does give me peace of mind knowing that they're built into this iPhone. Car crash detection uses new hardware on the iPhone combined with software to detect when you've been in an accident and automatically alert authorities if you don't dismiss a notification that pops up on your phone. Emergency SOS is a feature designed for when you need help from authorities and you're somewhere without cell service, like if you're lost on a hike or you need medical assistance. With this feature, your iPhone actually uses a satellite connection to get a message out to authorities. Another new hardware feature with this iPhone that I've really come to actually enjoy is actually its purple color, and I know I already see the eye rolls, I can see them now, but having an exclusive color each year does make the phone's hardware feel a bit more distinct and more unique, even if it's purely just an aesthetic change. Another thing I've really enjoyed with the iPhone 14 Pro is the 48 quad pixel sensor. The iPhone 14 Pro takes great photos and videos, though there are some things I think Apple could improve that I'll talk about in a second. The two things the 48 quad pixel sensor really gets you that I've really liked are better images in low light, and you get a full 48 megapixel large image that allows you to crop in way more when you use Apple ProRAW. Another feature I've really liked with this iPhone, though it's not necessarily unique to the 14 Pro, is its place within the Apple ecosystem. The iPhone continues to be the center of Apple's universe. The new second-gen HomePods we recently did a video on need an iPhone to do things like set reminders, pick up phone calls, or text someone. You need an iPhone for AirTags to work, which makes it easy to find my bag on a luggage carousel after a flight, and it also makes it easy to clear a dispute with somebody who accidentally picked up your bag thinking it was theirs when you can clearly point your phone down to the bag and show them, "I'm sorry, does your bag have my AirTag in it?" "No, it does not. Please give me my bag back, sir." My iPhone 14 Pro can easily pair to my AirPods Max, which remains my favorite pair of over-the-ear headphones. Having an iPhone gets you iMessage, which here in the US is incredibly popular. It also allows you to easily pick up where you leave off on other Apple devices and effortlessly transfer files between your iPhone, iPad, and Mac through AirDrop. It also works seamlessly with my Apple Watch Series 8, which we're also doing a review on, that tracks my fitness, sleep, shows me critical information, and my favorite thing about it, gives me an easy way to control media playing on my iPhone while I'm moving about my home listening to a podcast. And of course, there's AirPlay. It's one of the best things about having an iPhone. AirPlay makes it easy to play audio to various speakers throughout my home and control media easily through the dynamic island. Apple makes it also very easy to AirPlay anything you're seeing on your iPhone to a supported display or TV. A few more standout features for the 14 Pro for me include call quality. That's been excellent with this phone, as it has been with previous iPhones I've used. The Pro line of iPhones continues to get the LiDAR sensor, and while it's not something I use every day, when I need to use one of iOS's AR features like placing items in a room to view their size, the LiDAR scanner helps the 14 Pro do things like overlay real-world subjects on top of virtual ones, which is very impressive. Another piece of hardware the 14 Pro gets from previous phones is the telephoto camera, which hasn't felt like a significant improvement over the one in the 13 Pro, but nevertheless, I always think it is a camera sensor worth having. So that's everything I've really liked about the 14 Pro. Now let's go through a few things that I'm a little bit more neutral on with this phone. First is the always-on display. This is another exclusive new hardware feature for the iPhone 14 Pro and Pro Max. Because I always wear an Apple Watch, I haven't really found the always-on display that helpful, because information like the time, current weather conditions, all that stuff I can just see directly from the watch face in a more convenient place. Plus, it hasn't been worth the extra battery drain. During our 6 months review period, Apple did at least change the always-on display, so you can now set it to not show the wallpaper or notifications, which I think makes it in general look better. Another thing the iPhone 14 Pro boasts is 2000 nits of peak brightness in direct sunlight. To me, there wasn't really a substantial difference between using the 14 Pro and then the 13 Pro I had previously outdoors. Both seemed fine in direct sunlight. Last thing I'm more neutral on with this phone is battery life. It's about as good or just slightly worse than my iPhone 13 Pro. I feel like there have been more days with the 14 Pro where I've had to turn on battery saver, but some of that could just be attributed to I've been more active now that the pandemic isn't as big of a thing. Now let's talk about some of the things I don't like about this iPhone. First is autocorrect. This remains an annoying part of using iPhones. Another major annoyance with this iPhone and past iPhones is Apple's insistence on over-processing photos. Photos on my Pixel 7 Pro consistently look better to me than those on my iPhone. This is especially true when you have photos with a good amount of light and people in them. It's like Apple removed all of the shadows from people's faces. Apple just seems to over-process the hell out of them, especially with skin tones. Overall, the camera system on the iPhone 14 Pro is good, but I wouldn't say it's a great camera system specifically for taking photos. For video, however, I still think it gets you the best video you can get out of a smartphone, and I don't notice the overprocessing of images and blown out highlights as much with video. The only downside I've encountered with video is HDR, and this isn't specific to Apple and the iPhone. Other smartphone makers have this issue as well, and thankfully, unlike Google, Apple did not enable HDR video by default. When you play them back on a Mac or view them from the YouTube app on an iPhone, these videos crank up the screen brightness to an annoying rate. The problem here is Apple doesn't really do a good job of educating you as a user for what situations HDR video is really good for. So you've got all of these people turning on this feature, shooting video, and the videos end up looking horrendous. Now, another thing I think Apple could improve with this iPhone, and all iPhones for that matter, is blocking spam texts. You can choose whether or not to allow notifications from unknown senders in message settings. But I'd like to see Apple scan text messages on device from unknown senders and then warn a user when a suspicious link has been detected. The last thing I don't like about the iPhone 14 Pro is lock-in, specifically App Store lock-in. Now, I've already gone in depth on the monopoly and monopsony issues Apple faces and why users and app developers are suing them and governments are regulating them to open up the iPhone. And I'll link to that video at the end of this one, but purely from a user standpoint, Apple's treatment of the iPhone is totally inconsistent with its treatment of the Mac. I can download the Spotify app directly from Spotify on the Mac, or Fortnite directly from Epic Games, and according to Apple's own website, I can do this safely on the Mac. So why can't I download these same apps from the same websites just to my iPhone, especially a Pro iPhone. Because Apple controls the only legitimate way to purchase and download software for your iPhone through the App Store, I constantly run into user experience issues where I'm trying to buy a digital good or service through an app, but I can't because companies don't offer it through their apps now because they're trying to avoid paying Apple a 15 or 30% commission. Like not being able to sign up for Netflix or Spotify within their apps, or one that has really irked me recently, not being able to purchase Kindle books from the Amazon app. You can only purchase them from Amazon through the Safari web browser. And an even worse situation is when services pass on that 15 or 30% commission, charging you more for the same exact service just because you're buying it through an iPhone app. This has been by far the worst part of owning the iPhone 14 Pro. So now after my rant and all the downsides, I've got to figure out how to transition to tell you that yes, at the end of the day, I still do recommend getting the iPhone 14 Pro, even with all the downsides I just mentioned. The ProMotion display, dynamic island, telephoto camera, and that deep purple color certainly make the iPhone 14 Pro a better buy in my mind compared to the regular 14, which is why I went with it. Now, if you have an iPhone 13 Pro, I don't think it's worth upgrading to the 14 Pro. At this point, you're better off just waiting another 6 months and getting the 15 Pro when that comes out. And you don't always need to buy a new iPhone to make the iPhone experience feel fresh and new. A lot of the things I really liked on the 14 Pro this year were actually just iOS 16 features. To hear my thoughts on iOS 16 and all the new things you get with it, check out our 6 months later review of it by clicking the little thumbnail here. And for the monopoly and monopsony cases against Apple and pending government regulations and how all of that impacts iPhone consumers, check out the explainer video I did on that issue here. And I've left purchase links in the description below and in this video if you'd like to check current prices for the 14 Pro. For 6 months later, I'm Josh Tedder. Thanks for watching.